In general, there is a lot of mythology that's been built around a few navies. One of them is Japanese Navy, like you just talked about. The other is obviously the German Navy from both periods of World War I and World War II, heavily mythologized through pop culture. So whenever we talk about German ships, we're likely to have like a very high degree of anticipation in the community. So we had that with the German battleships, and we're also likely going to have that with German destroyers sometime around the end of the year. I can't comment on like deep gameplay characteristics just because we're not done with the modeling yet. So we haven't gotten around to the balancing part. But from the technical characteristics, you can see that, like you said, they will be high seas destroyers. So in general, they will be focused around guns as well, because they have fairly high caliber armament. And other than that, we are kind of thinking of some cool features that we can give them, just like we did for British cruisers with the single fire torpedo tubes. So we're kind of looking into what kind of unique gameplay element we can give to German destroyers as well. We got a good chunk of materials for the German branch from the archives in Germany. Other than that, we did extensive research in written materials that were available, but surprisingly we also found some materials in Russian archives which were not very well known previously. So that's where we found the triple turret layout, for example, for Großer Kurfürst, which people were surprised to see because literally almost no one knew about that. So we found that in Russian archives, so presumably it was somehow stolen by Russian intelligence during the war or before the war. And other than that, we also have, in the development team, we have a team of real naval engineers, so people who previously worked in designing ships themselves. So whenever we have something that we don't have plans for, or plans are insufficient in some way where they don't show either some type of compartment or some area of the ship is not complete, then we ask them to basically design it for us so that it makes sense from an engineering point of view. So whenever there's something that we don't have, they are asked to take in the historical realities of naval engineering from that nation and that period and just fill in the gaps. And they just basically design it just like they would a new ship.
That's a pretty amazing way.
Yes, actually, if you think about it, for a naval engineer, it's a pretty amazing job, right? To be able to recreate ships that somehow never existed or would have existed at some point in time. Yes, actually, it's planned for next year as a premium ship.
That's going to be...
It's literally the only aircraft carrier that we're comfortable with building for the Germans. Just because we've actually in our let's say master sheet there was a German aircraft carrier tree planned with different projects or planned conversions from battleships that the Germans had, but since then we've scrapped that idea and we're probably not going to develop it, and from that line we will just take Graf Zeppelin and try to develop that as a premium ship for next year.